that is going on with you guys.
All right, here comes main man Hobie Artigue. Many of you probably remember he was a sports anchor for Fox 9 and really anchored a lot of the coverage Fox 9 would do with the Minnesota Vikings, like Game Day Live, stuff like that. Did a Thursday night show with them from Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center, along with some others. That was a weekly show. And main man Hobie now is a sports anchor at Channel 4 in Detroit, and once again formerly of Fox 9 via Twitter. He is, hey, it's me, Hobie, and now he joins us from the Motor City. Hobie, PA and Charch at a Friday football feast. How in the heck have you been, my man?
I'm doing great, especially covering a team that has 14 wins already this year. But this week, it really does feel like my two lives are colliding in a way as they meet for that number one seed. And I think the excitement here in Detroit is just so palpable. Heading into a game that's not really a playoff game, but it certainly has that feel as we head into Ford Field on Sunday night.
Hobie, wait a minute. You're shortchanging said squad a win. Didn't the Pistons get their 15th win against Orlando the other night? I mean, I know the Jaden Ivey news was bad, but you're shortchanging them a win. What are you doing?
I'm sorry. And then the Red Wings just won their third in a row last night, and that ties their longest winning streak. But you know what? It pales in comparison to this, my friend. I think you know all that.
Hobie, Paul Charchian, nice to talk to you. Just give me a sense of the atmosphere in Detroit. It's electric in this town, as you can imagine, and you know well. But what's it like in Detroit? A little bit different because that team, the Lions team, you know, they were in the NFC Championship game a year ago. So just give me a sense of how this how the community is reacting to this 14-win season and this game coming up Sunday night in particular.
I think this itself. Let's go back last year, like whenever they beat the Chiefs to open up the season. I think it really wasn't a surprise. Maybe it was in a way, but I think at the end of that game in San Francisco that they had last year, that set the expectation. And last year it was all about enjoying the ride. And this year it's about finishing the mission. And I think that's been felt in that building in Allen Park, and that's just kind of permeated throughout the rest of this city too. Because I think they showed last year that they had the talent to make it to the Super Bowl. And this year it's almost been confirmation that they have potentially even a better team this year. Maybe not on defense with all the injuries that they have right now, but I think that people in the city, they kind of rode the ebbs and flows throughout the end of this year with so many injuries piling up on defense. They had the loss to the Bills, but when they found a way to beat the Packers, when they got the wins that they did at the end of the year, I think that really did change people's mindsets a little bit, maybe more like, hey, with the offense that we do have and Jared Goff leading the way, that still could be a possibility despite all we have lost on the roster this year.
I think Jared Goff's season has been underappreciated.
Absolutely.
His remarkable ability to be productive, the lack of turnovers, I mean, other than the 5-interception game, which total asterisk there because it's unlike every other game he's had this season, has been remarkable. And while we've really galvanized on the MVP voting for Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, amazing dual threat quarterbacks, I just think as a passer, Jared Goff's had as good a season as anybody.
And Dan Campbell said that after the game in San Francisco that they just played on Monday night. He said, find me a quarterback who's playing the game better than Jared Goff right now. And to your point, you brought up the game in Houston. Since that game where he had those 5 picks against the Texans, he got 20 touchdown passes to 1 interception. Wow. You want to talk about where this game coming up on Sunday is going to start and end? It begins and ends with Jared Goff's productivity. The way he has played right now, the way he is seeing the field, the way he's avoiding pressure, he's using his legs a little bit more this year, maybe not up and down the field. He'll do that during the game, but just the way he's navigated the pocket, he's not the statue that people expected him to be in the past. The way he's able to buy time, the way he's able to find his guys downfield like Amon-Ra St. Brown, and all of the weapons that he does have at his disposal, I think that Ben Johnson has put him in the best possible situation to be successful, and you're seeing that play out right now.
Hey, Hobie. So you left the Twin Cities a couple of years ago, and now with Channel 4 in the Motor City. That's an NBC affiliate, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep, that's sweet. So last year, the last season with J.J. McCarthy, at Ann Arbor at the University of Michigan. What how popular was he in that state? And like when you would cover the games or interview him and stuff, what'd you think of J.J. McCarthy?
He was the leader of that Michigan offense last year. I mean, I was just mentioning Jared Goff being in the best possible situation. That was JJ last year, engineering that offense to the national championship last year. But as far as a personal standpoint, you would be hard pressed to find a more joyous person to talk to. Every time we interviewed him, he was always the same guy, just very optimistic, very positive, always made the time for local media to chat. And I was always grateful for that. But I think I told a couple of people whenever he was drafted by the Vikings, you're getting a pro. You're getting a pro in every sense. He's a guy who can make the plays when he needs to, but also off the field too. Just a very genuine person. And I think that you guys are probably feeling that in Minnesota right now.
Yeah, we wish we had more data points. We really, we don't entirely know what we've got right now, so we're counting on intel like that to help us know, because there's a real chance that Sam Darnold's not here next year and J.J. McCarthy's our starting quarterback, which it could play out that way. Hobie, I want to ask you about Kirby Joseph. He's one of the best safeties in the league. In the Pro Bowl voting that just went down, he was the number one vote getter at safety from the fans, but didn't make the Pro Bowl because players and coaches, the other thirds of the Pro Bowl voting, didn't vote for him at all. And Aaron Glenn, when asked yesterday, said, "I think we all know why." What's the thinking on Kirby Joseph there in town?
I think that the fans here are certainly surprised, at least in Detroit, because you look at the stats and 9 interceptions to lead the NFL. But to your point, the rest of the league, with some of the hits that he's had over the last several years. I mean, look at the hit last year on T.J. Hawkinson.
That's right. Tyler Higbee.
That's one point right there. But also, it's been mentioned before, I think to a lot of the players in those locker rooms. I mean, PA, you've been around enough pros to know that Pro Bowl isn't what matters to a lot of these guys. It's getting that All-Pro nomination.
Right.
I think that's what he's looking towards, and I think that it might come down to Kirby Joseph or one of those defensive backs in this game. I think that's what their focus is right now, because it might be on them to make a play. Because right now, that defense, that is how they are going to win games. It's by not only just making stops, but taking the ball away and preventing somebody from scoring.
Main man Hobie, former Vikings pass rusher Zadarius Smith, in his truncated time with the Honolulu Blue, how has Zadarius been?
Well, Zadarius has been great. Great locker room presence, leader, but I think that people are waiting to see more from him on the field, because right now, the leading sack getters for this Lions team are both on IR right now. Aiden Hutchinson still leads this team with 7.5 sacks, and he has not played since week 5.
Wow.
Generating pressure is something that has been an issue for this defense. But maybe, as you mentioned, he spent time, Zadarius Smith did, with the Vikings. Does this kind of light a fuse for him to go into a game and want to prove something? This might be it, but off of the field, he has been absolutely a great person to talk to after every single game. And I know that he is overjoyed to be joining a team coming from Cleveland now to this Lions franchise, to be able to make something happen.
All right, and off that, so down the great Hutchinson, down fantastic Aleem McNeil. So we have Josh Pascal, we have Zadarius, we have Levi Onwuzurike, and this is not including blitzing, okay? So if they don't blitz, how do they get to the quarterback, or do they not?
They might not, because they only have 5 sacks in the last 4 games.
Oh wow!
I think that this game is going to boil down to how does the secondary hold up against that prolific passing attack that the Vikings have right now. Because you mentioned the players that they're missing up front. I think the biggest one going into a game like this is going to be Carlton Davis. He hurt his jaw in that game against Buffalo, and it doesn't look like he's going to be coming back for quite some time. But I think that's what it all comes down to. Do they have enough on the back end, and can they make a stop in the secondary when they need to? And another question mark heading into this game is going to be the status of Alex Anzalone. He practiced. He broke his forearm in Week 11 against the Jaguars. It sounds like it's TBD for him on if he's going to go on Sunday night. I will find out officially later on today. But he said right now he and the team are just weighing the options of, is it worth playing right now? Because this team still is going to the playoffs. It's not like Sunday is a must-win game for this team. So I think that's going to be something to monitor for that defense too. But generating pressure has been a problem, and I think that's all going to fall in the secondary to make the stops when they need to.
Hobie, you've covered this and other things at a high level for a long time. So when I say this, there's definitely a chance. But do you think it's probable, or how significant of a chance with Anzalone, who went limited in the walkthrough, then he went full practice yesterday. He'll be full today. But that now that I'm thinking about it, it could be we want to give you one extra thing to think about. But truly, he's not ready until the postseason. We're hoping to get that extra week to get him even more ready. Maybe they're playing the okey-doke game, but the reason I think they're going full throttle on it, and I'm not sitting here trying to be elite defensive coordinating mind, but Ben Neiman, the guy who plays this spot in pass coverage, is really having some problems. So it you see what I'm saying here?
I get what you're saying, and also, I mean, we were talking about veteran leadership with Zadarius Smith. How about Alex Anzalone, who's been a guy since the day Dan Campbell has gotten here, is a veteran who he's relied on to help steer that defense. Just his presence alone on the field and getting everybody in the right spots would be huge, just because he's played a lot of football, he's seen a lot of football, and in a game like this, whenever you're facing a team that has an offensive mentality, you want that type of guy on the field. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing to watch for that Lions defense, because would an extra week off and getting the number one seed help? Absolutely, for this team, but it's not going to cure all of the injuries that they have. That's another thing that I keep going back to with this game coming up.
Hobie, a lot of this is going to come down to whether the Lions defense can just make a handful of stops. If I said the Lions win if the Vikings punt X number of times, what is X? Solve for X.
Let's go with 3. I'll go 3.
We'll go with 3. All right, so you get 3 stops.
Yeah.
And do you think the Lions are going to get 3 stops in this game? They got none. They got none on Monday night.
But they got some picks. Herbie Jones has got some picks.
They got picks.
I will go back. I will go back to this. What they cannot have happen is have a repeat of what happened against the Buffalo Bills when they played them at Ford Field a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
That game, Buffalo just could not be stopped on offense. The Lions defense had no answer for them. But the Lions offense could not get the ball going. They went 3 and out, and they punted on their first 2 possessions. They fell into an early hole, and so they were playing catch-up the entire game. And then to start off the second half, they had a turnover that set up the Bills in prime position. I think Dan Campbell has known all along what his defense can and cannot do over this last 3 to 4 game stretch. I think it all goes back to, does the offense have enough gas to get them to the finish line? I think that's what it all goes back to. Since they played Seattle on Monday night in Week 4, that has been the identity of this team. They go the way the offense goes. I think that's what it's all going to come back down to.
Hobie, last one. And again, thank you. Vous travaillez. Nous regardons la télévision. Pourquoi? So with Detroit's offensive line being the best in the National Football League, at least in my estimation, from Decker over to Penei Sewell. So we got Decker, Glasgow, Chanhassen, Go Crazy, Frank Ragnow, and Kevin Zeitler with Penei Sewell. Of that fist, which of the 5 is most important and why?
Penei Sewell, because you have just seen how versatile he has been. I mean, how often do you see a right tackle get involved in so many trick plays in one year?
Right.
I mean, and that's only the tip of the iceberg. Nick Bosa was able to get some pressure on him in that last game against the 49ers. But if you want to talk motivation going into a game like this one, especially whenever you have a Vikings defense that has 2 guys with 11-plus sacks already this year, I think that this is the type of challenge that he looks forward to. And he has been a guy who has really set the tone from pregame throughout the game. You look at the way he finishes his run blocks. You look at the way he's able to protect his quarterback. I think he is the most valuable piece on that offensive line, with Frank Ragnow being a close second, just because he has been that team's Iron Man, all of the injuries that he's played through. I think that it would be, if we had to go one, it would be Penei Sewell. But if it had to be 1A and 1B, it would be Penei and then Frank right behind him.
Looking forward to seeing you Sunday at Ford Field.
Can't wait, my
friend.
friend.
You and your family. Glad to hear that things are going incredibly well for you there. And I'll see you this weekend, all right?
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Bonjour. Je m'appelle Paul. Regardons la télévision. Pourquoi? That's Hobie Artigue from Channel 4 in the Motor City Davie. And I was here with Fox 9, did good work. Now he's in the Motor City. And he'll be at the contest on Sunday, 7:20 Central for the Boom, 5 o'clock for the pregame. And the Friday Football Feast heads into its penultimate segment, where we will eventually get into something called the Motivation Meter. It's weekend motivation for teams around the National Football League. And it impacts not only which team the Vikings or Lions will play next, but also the upcoming National Football League draft and stuff like that. But when we return, yours truly is going to grab the Master Mixer's sneaky microphone and to walk around the crowd, and we'll chat again. Pepper Pauly with some questions if you're interested, and we'll do that from Buffalo Wild Wings Egan on KFAN.
Okay, calm down.
The Vikings.
Time for two more.
9 to noon.
Welcome back to Buffalo Wild Wings Egan. Going to head around the crowd here in a second. Put your hand in the air if you got a question for the Friday Football Feast tandem, or you want to talk about Vikings MVP, what it's going to take to win this weekend. Lions fans, they're welcome and accepted too. Michelle, hello.
Hi, Paul.
I want to thank Michelle, Katie Dempsey, Lisa, and everybody here with this covenant for bringing me this birthday cake and the cupcakes and the cards and the coffee. My birthday's not until Monday, but God bless people like you. You know I love you very much, and thank you for the fellowship.
Anything for you. Yeah.
Round of applause for people deeply rooted within the old announcer's covenant. Hey, always wanted to do that. All right, hand in the air. Who wants to go on the radio? Come on, Vikings, Lions, and you got a question for him, Paulie Wally?
Yeah, well, I got a topic for you and the listeners. If for those people that might be inclined to brave enough, perhaps. Short week. How much of an advantage that the Lions had to travel on Monday night in a short week? Granted, they have a home game, but do you think that is a factor in deciding the outcome of this game or not?
Elite question. If you would like to answer that, the factor of the Lions on a short week, long game, high-scoring game, physical game, put your hand in the air. Somebody over, my man right here. What's your name? Where are you from?
Jared from Rochester.
Give it to us.
Now we'll find out, is Jared
MVP,
a great football mind?
Say it again, Chart.
Is Jared a great football mind? We're going to find out right now. It's just okay.
MVP of the season, I'm going with Kwesi for the defensive acquisitions.
Okay.
And how the defense has performed, as well as KO, Brian Flores. I think the coaching staff deserves a lot of credit this year for what they've been able to do with not only the defense, but then the Sam Darnold project. It's been great to watch. I mean, we're playing with house money at this point, right?
Yeah, beautifully stated. Hey, round of applause for my man right there going outside
Jared.
of the box.
Right.
And, you know, the low hanger here, Charch, of course, you know you're an elite football mind, is that, you know, we've heard it a million times, but you get Van Ginkel, Cashman, and Grenard for the same price. Houston paid Danielle Hunter.
Right.
Now, Hunter's having a fantastic season, but it goes deeper. I mean, Gilmore's helped, Griffin has helped, Aaron Jones has helped. How about the crafty? You lose Darisaw. Now, granted, Cam Robinson, I misspoke earlier. He has 11 penalties this year. Not all with the Vikings.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, it's still an 11.
It feels like all with the Vikings, but yes, I can understand the mistake.
It's most on the team, Brandell second. But think about the prescient nature and the timeliness of losing Darisaw, who's top 3 left tackle in the game the way he was playing, and not replacing him with some practice squad beef eater from some bad team.
Yeah.
Instead, you get a guy who now has 100 starts from a bad team, but nevertheless, like 100 starts, That's a shrewd move.
Well, look, we don't want to lose Darisaw, but thank God it wasn't 1 week later. I mean, we got, that injury went down at the trade deadline. We were able to get Robinson and basically not quite for free, but almost for free.
Right.
And that could have been a borderline disaster case for us. So, yeah, tip of the hat to Kwesi on the acquisition.
Jared has another question. Go on with it.
Oh, not a question, but Kwesi's playing fast in the words of PA. I mean, he went out, made that move real quick once Darisaw went down, realized what this team's potential is, and said, hey, we're not going to stick around like you said. We're not going to sign some practice squad player, we're going to go out and get some real talent. We're going to keep this ball moving in the right direction. So,
yeah, I like the way you're thinking. Anybody else got any questions? Yeah, thank you very much. Birthday's on Monday. I appreciate you. What you got here, brother? What's your name? Where are you from?
I'm Gideon Tiber. I'm from South St. Paul, Minnesota.
Giddy, as in Josh Giddy for like the Chicago Bulls?
Gideon, but yeah, I often
Gideon, as in the Gideon Bible?
That's exactly right, Paul.
Give it to us.
In terms of talent, where does this Vikings team rank in recent years? Would we say it's better than the 2017 team?
It's better than the 2017 team. It's not close. Next. 09.
I think we might be at 09 level right now, right? I mean, it feels a little bit like that. 09 had some real superstar quality to it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, I mean,
Lieber, Greenway on defense.
Yeah.
Brett Favre.
There was such a star-laden team.
Yeah.
09. Jared Allen, the Williams Wall.
Right.
Then you got Percy Harvin was Rookie of the Year that year. Sidney Rice in his second year was a stud in the making. Then you got Adrian in his third year. Steve Hutchinson, left guard, HOF. McKinney, left tackle, eventually won a Super Bowl with Baltimore. So it's difficult to say until now. If this team gets by the NFC title game, it doesn't matter to me what you say about the Dirty Birds in '98, what you say about the Cheating Saints in '09, or if you lay the roster out and be like, this guy's better, it doesn't matter. These guys would get to the Super Bowl and do something you couldn't do.
And, you just mentioned, you rattled off all those great players from the 09 team, but
yeah,
maybe we're going to look back at this roster and we're going to rattle off names from this roster. And we're going to be talking about Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and Sam Darnold and TJ Hawkinson as stars.
Oh, no doubt.
And we're going to be talking about Grenard and Van Ginkel and Harrison Smith as stars that were on this team. But in the moment right now, we don't necessarily recognize it, but in retrospect, we might look back at this roster and go, that it was every bit as star-laden.
Love that. My man, what's your name? Where are you from?
My name's Adler. I'm from Eden Prairie.
Right on. I live there too. How come you ain't in school today? No school?
Yeah, no school.
Okay, cool. What's your comment or question?
Do you think that KOC will give Cam Bynum another contract so we can get more pick celebrations?
That's a really you're an elite football mind, my man, because Cam Bynum is set to become an unrestricted free agent. So I mean, it's like I did a radio show early this morning, and like a lot of these interviews that I do, they pushed me on what's next for Sam Darnold. And while I understand that's an interesting talker, he's a quarterback, no doubt about it. At the facility and, around coaches and players and stuff, it's a complete buzzkill. Nobody ever brings it up because it just kind of steps on the 14-2. But Cam Bynum, I don't hear that very often. What do you think?
I think he's a priority free agent or priority upcoming free agent that this team wants to try to keep. And, we don't know what Harrison Smith's status is going to be. We're going to need the safety help. Cam Bynum's turned into a impact player. We love the celebrations, but I'd like to keep the guy who can create turnovers, scoop up fumbles, and make tackles. And Cam Bynum is probably, after you figure out what you're going to do at quarterback, job number 2 is Cam Bynum. Josh.
All right. My man right here. I don't know what your name is. I love you. Do you love me?
I do.
Okay, I love you. During that last response, you jumped out of your chair with like a 42-inch vertical, like you were going to run up there and bum rush somebody. Or okay, a 3-inch vertical, but it's radio. Nobody could see it. Just roll with me here, okay? Okay, I'm going to make you sound good. What was the problem? Do we have a problem here? What's your name? Where are you from?
Jason Savage.
Okay, Jason Savage. Great radio name. With Paul Allen, I'm Jason Savage, and you're listening to KDWB. So why'd you jump out of your chair?
Nobody's talking Ivan Pace and how Flores deploys the Vikings linebackers. Because of what he's doing with the linebackers is ridiculous, and nobody's talking about it.
Okay, I love you. He is not the MVP of the 2024 Minnesota Vikings. That was the question presented. Now, you know what? Go on and lead the IP Junior fan club. Tell us why you like him so much.
You got an undersized linebacker coming out of Cincinnati, undrafted free agent, number 0. Talk about this dude. He has no position. He runs up. He's 5'10", 230?
Great blitzer.
Yeah. And he was doing it in college. He's taking on guards, running through the fullback in college. He could do it then playing for Cincinnati. He's doing it in the league, getting out there, and you've got the perfect coach that runs through position and deploys the dude just as he needs to be. And that.
Oh, there's no doubt. Now, Jason, you're a well-built.
I do.
Okay. Well, now Jason, again, it's radio, so nobody can see him. He's 5'6", and he's very well built. So, oh, geez. Okay, no, you're not 5'6". You're 6'2", up in my face right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and end this segment before I get my butt whooped. All right. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
9 to noon continues after this.
I can't wait until tomorrow. 'Cause tomorrow might very well be too late. I can't wait until tomorrow. 'Cause tomorrow can never come.
I'm confident that we'll be world champions.
But I pray tomorrow comes. But it could be too late.
9 to noon.
I'm ready to smile, but for a long while wouldn't take much to get me down. I love my mother. Color, most of all,
Motivation meter, carry us through it.
I can't wait.
This is Week 18 always goes down this way, Paul, where there are teams that have things to play for, teams that do not. The NFL did one thing very odd on Saturday. We got 2 Saturday games. We've got the Browns playing the Ravens. Browns obviously disaster grade right now. Dorian Thompson-Robinson has been benched for Bailey Zappi. I mean, think about how bad a quarterback you are for Bailey Zappi to come in and be viewed as an improvement. They play against the Ravens. The Ravens have high motivation for this game because if they win here, they win the division. Mm-hmm. Pittsburgh had a sizable lead, but they've given up that lead right now. So the Ravens play first. If they win, they salt away the division.
Yep.
But what's weird is then the NFL scheduled the Steelers game after that.
Right.
When the Ravens can knock them out of their hopes to win the playoffs.
Crazy.
So some strange goings on there. And yeah.
Oh, go ahead. You got more on this? Or
yeah.
Let's go to the NFC for a second, all right?
Sure.
Make it more pertinent for the Minnesota Vikings. If the LA Rams are sitting Matthew Stafford and pretty much all of their frontline players. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't win, okay, because they can. But nevertheless, let's say they lose. The Buccaneers are about an 88% winner against Spencer Rattler in New Orleans this weekend.
For sure.
Tampa Bay is going to win. What I'm getting at here from a motivation meter standpoint, that's some stuff Paul Charchian put together. Motivation for it's Seattle, right? Seattle, LA Rams.
Yep, that's exactly right. At Rams
and Seattle dead. So motivation for Seattle and/or the Rams in this game, and then the Saints and the Buccaneers because it's beginning to look like the loser of the Vikings and the Lions on Sunday night. I would say most likely heading to SoFi to play the LA Rams. What do you think?
Agreed. I think that's your probable opponent.
That ain't a great matchup for either team, by the way.
In terms of the Rams?
No, the Rams beat the Lions 2 seasons ago.
Yep.
When the Lions were full throttle. Almost beat them like week 2. Put up a bunch of points on them.
Yes.
Stafford, former Lion. It's weird. And then you get the Rams, who beat the Vikings this year on Thursday Night Football. It's just strange. I mean, O'Connell obviously was with the Rams, won a Super Bowl. Sean McVay is kind of his mentor.
Yeah.
Maybe having already been through that, maybe it would make a little bit of a difference into the next game. I just remember being back there and all the hugs on the sidelines with everybody who used to coach with the Rams, used to be with the Vikings. It was just weird.
Yeah.
So maybe a playoff situation would be different, but that's if the Vikings lose, that's not my favorite matchup in the first round.
No, and that Rams loss was really disheartening, Paul. And the Rams came into that game having zero. They had played bad football for a long time, but they got back. They got back Kupp and
of course
Nakua
and then
for the Vikings.
And then
game.
it was you come for Kupp and Nakua, and it's Jamarcus Robinson scoring twice.
Yes, and
fantasy football buster though.
Exactly. And Stafford, they were that Rams team just picked us apart with the short passes.
Yep.
Those guys would run with the ball, and the Vikings were on their heels the whole game. Be glad you were not at the feast the morning after for that one. You didn't want that. Rams, I think they're playing this right by not playing their starters against Seattle. This is how I would do it too. I would rest Puka Nakua, Cooper Kupp, all the stars that they've got against Seattle.
I'd rest those kids on defense too. The Fisk and Verse.
Jared Verse.
Yeah,
I think can that team draft?
Well, Verse is a rookie. I think the other one is too.
Fisk is too. That was their first and second round picks, I believe.
And they're playing with their metaphorical hair on fire right now. And when you say, it's interesting you say that, but you're right. I agree. When you're like, wow, can that team draft? We're talking about the team that for about 4 years gave away every draft pick it had in the history of the NFL draft to get a bunch of mercenaries. And then they win the Super Bowl, and their overly zealous, cocksure general manager, Les Snead, at the party in downtown Los Angeles, the Super Bowl parade, gets on the microphone and he goes, "What does everybody think of those effing draft picks now?" I'm like, damn, my man's on the mic at .20 after winning the Super Bowl. That's aggressive.
Well, you get to do that after you win the Super Bowl, I suppose. The Rams are a team.
But when they have picks, they're lethal.
With the Rams the way the Rams have played for the last 5-6 games, at moments and for full games, they look absolutely dominating. And then there are other games, like they played the Jets, couldn't get anything done.
Yeah.
And so
that defense should not consistently slow a Minnesota Vikings offense. It just should not. But it did. I think Oliver had the first touchdown in the game. But again, McVay and that staff, McVay's a tree. If you're a tree and you have limbs, like what are some of the McVay limbs? Kevin O'Connell.
Oh, yeah.
Zach Taylor with Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Brandon Staley, who was formerly the Charge, and so on and so on.
Liam Cohen, Zach Robinson.
Liam Cohen.
The list goes on and on.
Matt LaFleur.
Right.
Yeah, he might be part of that limb, or at least part of the tree. So,
he's the original acorn.
Who wants to go against trees? Nobody wants to coach against Walsh. Nobody wants to coach against Belichick. Nobody wants to coach against nobody wants to coach against trees.
No, if we're doing this, if we're breaking down Vikings-Rams next week, we're going to be talking about how much does McVay know, how well does he know Kevin O'Connell, and can he pick apart Kevin O'Connell's brain? He's the one that filled the brain with all the knowledge. So how can he attack a coach that he knows, and how Kevin O'Connell wants to approach things? I don't want to have that conversation next week.
Now, with the Vikings losing 2 games this year, all right, so they lose to the Lions. Ivan Pace Jr. Gets that scoop and score. You take the lead late. Really, with all due respect, okay? I love this team as much as anybody. In calling that game and watching that game and then watching it back, I didn't think the Vikings were the right side pretty much the entire game. It was close, and they took the lead late and everything, but the Lions were the better team the majority of the game that day. Then all of a sudden it's like, what? We're winning? Wow, damn, let's get excited. Then Jake Bates walks off, and there's your dagger. Well, they got the Rams on a short week. It's reminiscent, and I believe it's similar to a certain extent, same fishbowl, just under different rocks, to what the Lions are facing this week. The Vikings on that Sunday against the Kitties were in a high-scoring, relatively long, super physical, emotional game.
Yeah.
Then they had to wheel back in a few days and play a bunch of Super Bowl champions. All right, didn't go the right way. Well, now the Lions, granted they're at home, again, same fishbowl, different rocks. They're coming off a very, very difficult game for them to win. Now, they were going to win it every step of the way because they're better than the Niners, but it took a lot, and it was a physical game. O'Connell's mentioned that about 3 times this week, either on X's and O's, 9 to noon on Tuesday, or press conferences. He keeps saying it was a physical game.
Yes.
He's either talking himself into it, that they're going to be a little more tired than people think, or he knows exactly what he's talking about, and I would yield the way of the latter. Well, the Vikings were kind of in that situation when they went to Los Angeles, and it took them a little while to get going and responding from, believe it or not, a crowd that was loud at SoFi. But, Darnold is from Southern California, San Clemente High School, University of Southern California. He had 8 million people there in the stands and on the sideline. We discussed O'Connell, McVay, Vikings offensive coordinator Wes Phillips won a Super Bowl with them. Passing game coordinator, offensive assistant Chris O'Hara did. The trainer, the performance team leader Tyler Williams. It's deep, So it was just maybe if it happens, if the Vikings lose and they got to go to SoFi, maybe having that prep race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
let's look at that as a $50,000 allowance at Saratoga.
Yeah.
To get ready for the G1.
Yeah, there you go.
The G1.
Yeah.
Maybe coming up next week, G1 at Santa Anita.
I like that angle, and hopefully there are plenty of things to learn from that Thursday night debacle earlier in the year. The Lions, if memory serves, the teams that face the Lions the next week, disaster.
Is that this year or last year?
Was that a last year thing? I thought it was this year too.
Yeah, it might be. But last year was unbelievable.
Right. I mean, they are so physical and they work you so hard that teams are messed up for a week after that. And that may have been a factor for the Vikings' loss on that Thursday nighter. But all in all, man, I don't want that scenario to unfold. Don't want to have to go on the road. Don't want to have to face the Rams.
Yeah.
But there is a chance you get this Rams team that just doesn't put it all together. And a sneaky thing to watch, Paul.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp ain't the same guy. He is getting like 2 and 3 targets a game for the last month.
With a week off, whatever they're going to put in his body to be the right guy.
It might be.
He'll be the right guy.
He might be the right guy for that game. That could be. They get Tyler Higbee back.
Yep.
It's still, the Rams the Rams feel like a team that when everything's clicking can beat any team any week. I don't want it to be the Vikings, and I hope we get the team that can lose to anybody any week like they almost lost to the Jets.
And into the weekend, into this big game, we ain't trying to provide wet blanket terrorism here or anything. We just wanted to give the other side of the story for those who don't, know what will happen if the Vikings happen to lose. I mean, and I can understand why you would need this portion of the equation, because who in the hell is used to the Vikings losing? They haven't lost in 2.5 months. 10 in a row, 4 KO. 10 in a row, 4 KO. 10 in a row, 4 KO. He's Paul Charchi, and I'm Paul Allen. Jared Wells, Nick Madden Street Team. Nordo back at the 651 Carpet Plus studio. Michelle, Lisa, Katie, everybody else with that nice birthday love for me. I appreciate you. God bless all of you. Happy New Year. And when we next chat, what are we going to be chatting about? We want the one. We want the one. God bless all of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
It just drives me absolutely batty.
9 to noon.
This is an old-fashioned ass kicking right here.
And that's a fact.
I know, right?
If it's good news or money, leave a message.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.